Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is your host Majestic speaking with another episode of Mech Warrior Online here, and today we're going to be continuing down our list of hero variants that could potentially be available for that Cyber Monday deal of 50% off. And today we're going to be going through the hero heavy mechs. So we're going to go down that entire list today, which does comprise of 13 different variants for you guys to choose from, similar to the mediums video. But again, we are going to be going through each of them. We're going to be going through the nitty-gritty, which ones are worth it, which ones are not worth it, which ones are the best value buy at the end of the day, and which ones are all-around great mechs that you might want to pick up if they go for 50% off. So we're going to be running through that list. Just as a disclaimer, again, this is going to be a little bit lengthier of a video, just because of the fact that there are so many of these guys, and I really want to give you guys a great perception before going into this sale which ones to look out for. So we're going to dive into the nitty-gritty immediately here. I just wanted to give you guys that heads up before we start. So let's dive into the store here. Now let's first look at the Archer Tempest. And what this guy has to offer for us is 0 ballistic hard points, 6 energy, 3 missile, 1 AMS, and 1 ECM. Now that ECM hardpoint is absolutely critical. You will find a lot of players will actually choose this type of variant over some of the others that are on the same weight class, same level, and same price, just because of the fact that this one offers ECM, which gives them that that umbrella that not only protects themselves from long-range artillery fire, but also provides an umbrella to the rest of their team as well. So you'll see a lot of people that prefer that over, you know, say another variant or another mech or another chassis in particular that is similar or equivalent to this mech. So definitely one thing to take into consideration on this specific variant. As for the quirk summary, medium laser cooldown 5%, missile heat generation 10%, missile velocity 10%, along with all structure bonus. Now, because it is medium laser cooldown, and it's only 5%, it's not much, but I mean, you know, when you look at it, 5% is 5%, right? So, you know, as little as it is, if you did shove 6 medium lasers on there, you'd be playing more of a mid-range role. You know, you're not necessarily getting up very close and personal, and especially when you take into consideration those 3 missile hardpoints that are conducive to this variant, and then put it up against something like the 5W variant of the Archer, which has 9 missile hardpoints that people like to use like splatter with, you know, 9 SRM4s, or a combination of SRM6s with Artemis and SRM4s with Artemis, you know. People really like to use that for their short-range mech. And even from the decals, the paint, and everything, it is an aesthetically pleasing-looking mech. It does have that graphic on there that says stay indoors, which is essentially trying to emulate to you, you know, based on the lore and everything and how PGI wanted to place this mech in the game. They want you to use those 3 missile hardpoints for long range, despite the fact that you have those missile quirks that are pretty generic. I mean, they can go for LRMs or SRMs between the missile velocity and missile heat generation. So that's applicable across the board. The majority of the times what you're going to be seeing is 6 mediums and then 3, you know, LRM 10s or something like that, or even just 2 LRM 20s. The stock loadout on this thing is 4 mediums and 2 LRM 20s with that Guardian ECM. So you can mix and match it how you want to. I've seen people put 2 LRM 10s and an LRM 5. I've seen, you know, just leaving it stock as it is and, you know, messing around with the engine a little bit, putting an XL in there. Comes with a standard 280. So, you know, you can really mix and match how you want to play this mech, especially if you're going on the back line and you decide that you like to play that artillery, you know, long-range support role. You know, you can afford to put an XL engine in there. You're not on the front line, so you're not immediately at risk of getting, you know, chewed up by your opponents or anything. But that's pretty much what they're trying to tell you to do. You know, you have the medium laser cooldown in there, so they want you to use those 6 energy hard points for mediums, or, you know, even another type of mid-range weapon, just in case, you know, some mechs break through the lines and they start coming after you and stuff like that. At least you have some sort of defense that goes like short to mid-range. But primarily those 3 missile hardpoints, they're focusing in on obviously making this thing an LRM boat. So if you like LRMing, if you like, you know, playing that mid-range to long-range support kind of role, you have that ECM umbrella, so you'll protect the rest of your friends who just kind of want to hang back for a little bit and wait for the rest of the battle to kind of develop and unfold a little bit before making any more aggressive moves. This is definitely the mech for you if you enjoy that. It might not be it's in my personal opinion, it's not my favorite on this list. I'll say that right up front. But, you know, again, we're going to go through this entire list, and again, I'm just going to draw some comparisons, stuff for you guys to think of that pretty much, hopefully, you can reflect back on and decide which of these variants really is conducive to your strategy and is worth it to actually go out, pay the MC on Black Friday, and then purchase, you know, any one or multiple types of variants that I'm offering to you guys today, you know, through, you know, Cyber Monday, that sale. So, without further ado, let's move on now to the Cataphract Ilya Muromets. Now, the Ilya Muromets is definitely an interesting variant of the Cataphract, and especially when it was first released, you know, people's jaws dropped, and you saw this thing out there on the battlefield pretty frequently. Now, I'm going to dive into the reasons why in just a second, but let's go through the summary. 3 ballistic, 3 energy, 0 missile, 1 AMS, and 0 ECM. So, you know, again, it's at that same price level as the Tempest, but it doesn't offer that ECM hardpoint. It does have a very, very brawly kind of look to it. It has energy cooldown bonus of 15%, ballistic cooldown of 10%, ballistic velocity 25%, and ballistic range of 25%, along with structure, acceleration, deceleration, and turn rate bonuses. Now, what people usually like to do with their Ilya Muromets is they place 3 UAC 5s on there and 3 medium lasers. That's a very standard, I wouldn't say meta build, because you're not seeing it in the, you know, you can't see any hero variant in the competitive landscape. Only mechs that are available for C-bills are actually legal in competitive gameplay, unless there are stipulations for special events and stuff like that. So you will never see an Ilya Muromets out there on the battlefield in the competitive scene, or any hero variant for that matter. But when you do see this mech in the group queue, or even in the solo queue, even in faction play, you know, you're seeing that triple UAC 5 3 medium build, and it usually has to be done with an XL engine. That's the only way that you can cram all that weaponry on there, still make it go along the battlefield, you know, at a decent pace, provide that, you know, that little bit of a punch through those 3 UAC 5s that are constantly just churning through the ammo. And you know, so that's really what you're going to see it there for, and it's definitely an up close and personal, you know, front line brawler. I would say front to, you know, mid range, because it does have that that ballistic range bonus on there. And if you did want to place some modules on there, you know, ballistic cooldown of 10%, you can make it 22% with a level 5 module. So it really is up to you how you actually want to play this mech. It does have these very high mounted 2 energy hardpoints there, and then the third one is over here on the right arm. It's a very, very big, wide, you know, or tall rather looking arm, so it is very easy to hit. But from this perspective of, you know, protecting yourself, it could be obviously served there. It does have some extra structure that comes along with it. You can even see in that structure bonus, the left arm and the right arm both get a bonus of 7%, so, or 7 hard points to it. So, you know, you can protect everything that is in the left and right torso and center torso. But just take everything with a grain of salt here. If you like brawlers, if you like skirmishing with your mechs, you know, take this guy. If you're a huge fan of the Cataphracts, this is definitely a mech that you'll want to pick up, especially because it is pretty unique in not only its structure and its hard points, but the quirks that go along with it as well. I certainly enjoy playing it. I don't play with it enough, you know, and I probably should. Maybe I'll even do another video on it, but just from my perspective, I do love this mech, but it might not be my best option, especially given that $52.50 price, which, again, if cut in half is $26.25, you know, during the 50% off sale, if it were to go for the 50% off. So just some words of wisdom, hopefully, to you guys. I'm no Cataphract master, just, again, expressing my opinion. Hopefully you guys can formulate exactly whether or not this is something that you want to use. But let's move on to another pair of brothers here. We have the 2 catapults, the Jester and the Butterbee. Let's first go through the Jester. And first of all, probably one of the craziest, coolest paint jobs in the entire game. Now, that's not a reason to actually go out and purchase a mech by any means, but it definitely has some hard points to back it up. And if we look first at the hard points, we have 0 ballistic, 6 energy, 0 missile, 2 AMS, and 0 ECM. If we look at the quirk summary that goes along with it, we have laser duration bonus of 10%, energy heat generation bonus of 10%, energy range bonus of 10%, and then the rest comes from torso turn rate, structure, acceleration, deceleration, and turn rate bonuses. So, again, it does have that standard bonus list of armor and structure to go along with it. The primary thing that we're looking at, though, is the positioning of those hardpoints. Catapults are known for having missile hardpoints, and if you see, this one has 0 missile hardpoints. It's a laser boat catapult. So every square inch of this mech that you're looking at has, a laser hard or an energy hardpoint somewhere on it, and especially these big ears up top, which are very conducive to long range for peeking and peering over over obstacles out there on the battlefield. So definitely keep that stuff in mind. It is jump jet capable, whereas these other 2 variants, they are not. They are not able to even have jump jets in them, but the Catapult Jester does. It can place those jump jets in there, so you could place 2 ERPPCs in these big ears. I did large pulses with mediums in there, so it is a great mech to use, especially from the perspective of looking at these 2 high mounts up there. In relation to the cockpit. Even the 4 backups are right underneath the cockpit. So pretty much you can conclude that if you can see it, you can shoot it with this mech. A ton of fun. A great variant. Very interesting. Very intricate paint job on there. And it's very unique. There are a ton of Catapult fanboys and fangirls, so I'm sure that if you did actually want to purchase this mech for MC, it would be worth your time to look into it. Because of the recent updates with this mech and how they scaled it down a little bit, it does have a smaller profile, which definitely adds as an added bonus, if you do want to get this mech, just because it's smaller. It's not necessarily as outlandishly crazy big as it used to be before, where you could get your ears essentially shot off without even realizing where you're getting shot from. So definitely take this variant into consideration if you are a Jester fan, if you like those high mounts in there, and you kind of want to mix it up. It's not a missile boat by any means. It's a laser boat. In comparison to the Butterbee, its twin brother here that was actually recent, the more recent of the 2 hero variants to be released into the game, we have 0 ballistic, 4 energy, and 4 missile hardpoints, along with 1 AMS and 0 ECM. So the only quirk that this thing has is missile velocity of 10%. The rest is all torso turn rate, acceleration, deceleration, and structure bonuses. So, obviously, with those 4 missile hardpoints and the missile velocity, that's a generic quirk. And because they've messed around a little bit with this variant since its release, again, you're not seeing anyone going necessarily with that short range build of the the SRM 6s, the 4 SRMs. But you can still do the 4 SRMs. That's the SRM 6s. That's what I currently have placed on it. I haven't really taken it out much since its release, but that's really what I placed on it. It's definitely an interesting build. It's got a great little looking paint job on there for you. Where is it? I have to first find it. There it is. Yeah, so again, I have the 4 SRM6s with Artemis, the jump jets, so it's kind of a Pop-Tart splat kind of catapult. It does have the jump jets in the 2 torsos, along with 4 small pulse lasers, just to make the heat management a little bit more decent and to fill out all the tonnage and slots pretty equally. That's the reason why I decided to go with the small pulses. So it's really up to you, again, what you want to do with it. But in comparison to some of the other variants of the catapult out there, for instance, if we actually were to take a look at the C4. This has 4 missile hardpoints as well, and it has missile heat generation, missile cooldown, missile velocity, and stuff like that. So you kind of have to weigh the pros and cons here. The Butterbee is only available for MC versus the C4 that has this laundry list that is probably a little bit more conducive to, a splatapult, if you will, versus the Butterbee, which has only that one generic missile quirk of missile velocity bonus for 10%. So definitely take that into consideration if these are 1 or 2 variants that you would like to buy. If you are Catapult fans, You'll probably have fun with them. I suggest the Jester if you were going to choose between one of them, just because of the fact that this is the laser boat variant, which is not available in any of the other variants. And the Butterbee, it's nothing special. I mean, if you look, I just showed you, the C4 has a lot better laundry list of quirks. It doesn't have 2 energy hard points. It has 2 less energy hard points than the Butterbee does. So, you definitely have to weigh the pros and cons there, whether or not you'd want to go short range or not. If you want to put an SRM build on it, that C4 is probably a better option just because of the cooldown and everything. But from a loadout perspective, obviously this guy can carry more. So you're going to have to decide between the two. But personally, if I were to choose between these two hero variants of the Catapult, I would definitely go with the Jester. It's definitely a more unique variant. It's the only one that has energy hard points in those big ears up there. And they are in great position for, using, long range kind of support weaponry. So in comparison, obviously the Butterbee, it's a cool looking mech. It's aesthetically pleasing, but, if you look at the other variants, they probably have a lot more to offer in comparison to this one, just because of the fact that, it might not have the same exact number of hard points, but it does have a laundry list of quirks that'll probably do as good of a job, if not better, than what you guys were expecting to play in your roles out there on the battlefield. But now, moving on, we're going to go on to the Dragons. Now, again, this is a dynamic duo between the Fang and the Flame. And first, we're going to look at the Fang. Now, if we first look at the hard points, 2 ballistic, 3 energy, 1 missile, 1 AMS, and 0 ECM. That quirk summary list is pretty extensive. It's got AC 10 cooldown bonus of 15%, laser duration bonus 15%, energy heat generation bonus 15%, energy cooldown 15%, ballistic cooldown 10%, and ballistic velocity of 20%, along with torso turn angles, turn rate, armor bonuses, structure bonuses, acceleration, and deceleration bonuses as well. The thing about the Dragons are first of all, the positioning of the hard points are essential. And if you look at where the cockpit is on this mech, it's way up here, right next to only one of those energy hard points. And again, this thing only has 3. So, if you look at, you have 2, 3, and another 1 missile missile hard point. So you have 6 total hard points, only 1 of which is conducive to, being in line with your sight out of the cockpit. So, if you look at where the rest of everything is, they've got the missile hard point kind of awkwardly placed on the end of the schnoz here. It's not really a benefit, if you ask me, just because everything is just so low mounted. And if you were to take this guy, the exposure that you would have to get in order to even get a full alpha off is just not worth it. Now, that's not to say that there are some fantastic dragon pilots, believe it or not, out there on the battlefield. I've seen it myself, and you'd be surprised that there are actually pilots that will take this into a competitive setting and do surprisingly well with it. It's a very, very specific mech to a very, very specific role that you want to play out there on the battlefield. So, if you don't really like, this side profile, even just to look at it, it's very easy to hit this thing. Let's just call a spade here. Between the low mounts on here, it's got a great list of quirks. It doesn't have a ton of different hard points on there, and it's got that diversity factor to it as well. So it's got, that laundry list of quirks that are pretty much applicable across the board here, except for missiles. It doesn't have anything that would even cater to this schnoz-mounted missile hardpoint here. So I wouldn't even, personally, I would just stay away from the Dragons. These are very, very unique mechs for very, very unique, I guess you could say, or special pilots who actually dare to take them out there on the battlefield. I've seen them do well. I'm just saying it's not very frequent that you'll see it do very well. So definitely pick and choose your spots. If you like the Dragons for whatever reason, this is at the cheapest end of all of the heavy variants that are available. It's at 4,500 MC, which would go for $22.50 at sale price. So you have the Fang here, and then its twin brother Flame. Now let's check out Flame really quick. He's got 1 ballistic, 4 energy, 1 missile, 1 AMS, and 0 ECM. Now he doesn't have a laundry list of quirks that Fang has, But he does have some, and we're consolidating at least a little bit more of that weaponry. You have only 1 ballistic versus 2, you have 4 energy versus 3, and you still have that 1 missile hardpoint. Again, awkwardly placed on that nose. And again, same positioning with the cockpit. It's just way back there in the distance, you know, and everything else that's mounted on this mech, except for that, you know, again, 1 out of the 6 hard points is in line with the cockpit. So not very conducive to, you know, taking out there on the battlefield, thinking that you're going to get a ton of alpha strikes with it, because you just have to expose this mech so much in order to even get a shot off. But if we look at the quirk summary list, laser duration 10%, energy heat generation 10%, ballistic cooldown 10%, and ballistic velocity of 20%. So it might not have a specific ballistic quirk like this guy does with the AC 10 cooldown. You know, this guy gets a 25% bonus on that ballistic. This guy, you know, he only has that generic ballistic cooldown quirk of 10%. So, you know, obviously if I'm choosing between the two from ballistics, you'd probably go with the Fang. But for the Flame, you know, it's not really bringing much to the battlefield. It's not bringing much to the table regardless. Again, at that $22.50 sale price, you know, I just find that there are probably other mechs in this list for that price that if they were to go off for 50%, they're definitely more worth picking up than this guy in particular. If you like the dragons, you know, more power to you. I don't know how to really use them. I have them, and I've played with them, and they're really just very, very frustrating. That elongated torso is just pokes out too far. You get hit from multiple angles. You can't see them, but they can see you. It's kind of frustrating, so to say the least. But we'll move on from these guys. Again, the Fang and the Flame, cool looking, definitely neat paint jobs that they placed on them. Definitely dynamic duo kind of brothers here, tag teaming it out there on the battlefield, but just not really worth it to me for the MC and for, you know, some of the other variants that are available, that might be available for that 50% sale price. So let's move on here to the Firebrand, the Jagermech Firebrand, and I absolutely love this mech. It definitely was, I believe it was only the second hero variant that I ever got in the game. I really, really enjoyed messing with this thing. Originally, what I had on it was just the dual Gauss setup, because if you look at where the cockpit is and where the arm mounts are, you know, if you could see it, you knew you could shoot it. So dual Gauss on this is definitely a favorite build that people like to place. It does have some quirks that go along with it. But before we get into that, 2 ballistic, 6 energy, 0 missile, 1 AMS, and 0 ECM. As for the quirks, apart from the acceleration, deceleration, turn rate, structure, and torso turn rate, you have ballistic cooldown of 10%, energy cooldown of 10%, energy heat generation bonus of 10%, laser duration of 10%, and PPC velocity of 40%. So automatically, you know that if you wind up putting PPCs on this mech, you're not going to be using all 6 energy hardpoints. It's just not going to happen. But if you want to place the PPCs on there to take advantage of that velocity quirk, take advantage of the energy cooldown and heat generation quirk, that's totally fine. How they have it mounted right now is 2 PPCs up here in the arms. They also have 2 mediums, which you'll see are way down here by the hips, and then the 2 ballistic hardpoints again in the bottom slot here. Right now on the you know, for the ballistic hard points, and they placed AC2s. Personally, what I would do instead is you know, I'd probably, if I did want to take out that engine and put in and leave PPCs, I probably wouldn't leave PPCs, to be completely honest. I'd rather go with like 4 or 6 mediums or something like that, and then again put like either AC10s or something on there, or even just stick with the dual Gauss setup, because you have that 10% ballistic cooldown. You're not really getting much else out of it from the energy quirks or anything, but people like to use it specifically because of the positioning of those hard points. I mean, they're right in line with the cockpit, if not above them, so you know if your crosshairs are on it, you know, if you could see it, you could shoot it, and people love that aspect of it, because it's kind of similar to the blackjack in that stance, where, you know, you have those arms that are sticking out, but they're right next to where, you know, your head would be turning, so you know whatever it's looking at, if it's in the crosshairs and you shoot at it, you're going to hit. Simple as that. So people like to take this one out specifically for that purpose, the dual Gauss sniper. If you weren't to do that, I would probably do either AC 10s with maybe 6 mediums or something like that. UAC 5s even, just because, you can churn through the ammo and just keep firing them off. Again, with those high mounts, definitely more beneficial. And, really mix and match with it. It's got a very, very awesome paint job. Obviously, they want you to know that the Firebrand is kind of demonic in a sense that it has like the From Hell, a graphic on there. Very, very unique, very cool looking mech. Definitely aesthetically pleasing. It comes at a price of $48.75. So if you cut that in half, it's around what, $24.37? Yeah, $24.37. They'd round up to $24.38. So, you just have to take that into consideration as well. It is a little bit more expensive than the bottom tier, but it is in line with, say, the catapults. So, again, pick and choose your spots. If you want to pick up both, you would have to buy a bigger, MC pack. You cannot purchase both of them with the amount of MC that you would get in the $15 bundle. So just keep that in mind. If these are a couple favorites that you guys were looking at, you would either have to go for a bigger MC pack or pick and choose between which one you like more, really. So, very interesting mech, great hard points. Overall, one of my favorite mechs in the game. Love this mech in particular just because of the positioning of those hard points. It's very nostalgic for me. When I was first starting, I picked this guy up. Definitely, I believe it was my second hero mech that I purchased after the Sparky. So, it's definitely interesting from that perspective. A lot of, personal, favoritism goes towards this mech just because I've messed with it for so much and I enjoy playing with it. But, again, I'm here to be completely, a third-party candidate here, from the outside looking in, trying to help you guys out. So, if you like the Jagermechs, you don't have this one, definitely a unique hero. It's pretty decent out there on the battlefield. You don't see them that often, but, if you do like the Jagermechs, definitely consider picking it up. We're going to continue running through the rest of this list here. Up next, we have the Marauder Bounty Hunter, and everyone loves their Marauders. Personally, I take them out every so often, but, I just can't get over this side profile. It's just so big, and, you can get hit from so many different directions. From a direct standpoint, in looking at this thing face on, it doesn't have that big of a profile. It's actually pretty thin. But as soon as you turn, it's like, whoa, man, this thing blows out. So, again, just from how the Marauder is set up in this game, there are a ton of Marauder fans out there. It's a great mech all around. If we look at the hard points that this guy has to offer, we have 1 ballistic, 7 energy, 0 missile, and 1 AMS. If you look at the quirk summary, medium laser range, energy heat generation, 5%, the medium laser range of 10%, energy range of 10%, and then the rest of it is just conducive to the torso turn rate, structure bonuses, acceleration, deceleration, the typical story. So, again, what they're trying to get you to do is, what they have on this thing, actually stock, is a Gauss rifle, 2 ER PPCs, and 3 mediums. Now, what I would prefer to do is just laser boat this thing with 7 mediums and maybe leave that Gauss rifle on there or put the AC-20 on there. But the difference being, obviously, with the AC-20 is that the AC-20 does generate some heat versus the Gauss rifle that generates none. So definitely take that into consideration. It doesn't have a laundry list of quirks, but there are people that really do enjoy the Marauders, and especially considering this one does have those 7 energy hard points and that high-mounted ballistic hard point, in relation to where the cockpit is, you're not at necessarily a disadvantage with the positioning of where these guys are. Yeah, they are a little lower slung than you would like, but that only accounts for 4 of them. So, when you think about it from that perspective, the rest of them are certainly more beneficial in using as well. So, from an all-around perspective, it's a great mech. People love the Marauders and everything, especially this variant because it specifically tells you, we're giving you a ton of energy hard points. Hopefully, you focus on, these in particular that we're giving to you in this quirk list, which cater towards the mediums. you know, that ballistic, obviously, if they only have one of it, they want you to shove something huge in it, because, again, at the end of the day, this is a 75-ton mech. So if you put a standard engine in there, you know it can last out there on the battlefield for quite some time. It's got a ton of structure, great for, especially on the, even on the support slash front lines, this mech would definitely be worked in there very well with the rest of your team. So definitely take that into consideration if you like the Bounty Hunter, or the Marauder in general. The Bounty Hunter is, again, a great, fantastic mech to use from the perspective of, you know, you have the 7 energy hard points. They're telling you which ones to put in there. And then you have that 1 ballistic hard point that they know you just got to crank up the volume with how much damage you're putting down. So usually an AC-20 or a Gauss rifle is what you're seeing on it, just to add that extra punch, especially because it could fit in a 75-ton heavy. So definitely an interesting variant, but it does also come at a price of $56.25 in the store right now, which, if we cut that in half, would be $28.12.5. So $28.13 is what you're looking at. You know, again, you would be left with less than 800 MC if you were to buy that $15 MC pack. So if you did want to pick up this variant and something else, you would have to either, you know, upgrade your pack, or, again, choose between which one you like more, this or whatever else you're deciding between. Again, you know, the Marauders, they're great. They're iconic mechs. People love them. I personally don't use them very often, just because, again, that side profile is just... It's huge, you know, and no one can deny that. So, you know, just take that into consideration before you buy. If you're a fanboy for the Marauders and you really like the lore on these guys, you know, you're only adding to your little nostalgia trip there by adding this guy to your collection. Let's move on here, though. We have the Orion P. And in the Orion P, the Protector is this particular variant of it. That's what the P stands for. I do not actually have this mech. I don't have many Orions at all. I believe the only Orion I have are the 2C variants that came in the pack when I purchased them. Definitely a unique mech, to say the least. You know, you don't see these guys out there on the battlefield very often. They are kind of like a unicorn mech, especially this hero variant. They've got a crap ton of structure. I could tell you that straight from the get-go. If we look at the hard points, 2 ballistic, 3 energy, 2 missile, 1 AMS, and 0 ECM. If we look at the quirk summary list, all structure, acceleration, deceleration, turn rate, torso turn rate, you know, blah, blah, blah. But then we get to the actual weapon quirks. Ballistic cooldown, energy cooldown, and laser duration, along with missile velocity, all come at a bonus of 10%, missile cooldown bonus of 5%, and then Gauss rifle cooldown of 15%. So again, you're probably only going to be using one of the 2 ballistic hard points if you decide to go with that Gauss rifle, but you will have a 25% cooldown. Shove a level 5 module on there, and you'll have a 37% cooldown on it. You know, I don't have it, so I don't know how it actually performs. I don't know, you know, max, you know, what would be the most optimal build for it. But, you know, this might actually even be one that I pick up if it does go on sale, just to see how it performs, and then even give you guys a review after purchase. But from looking at it from this perspective, just at that laundry list of, well, not necessarily the laundry list, but that list of quirks that they're giving to us, and then referencing the actual positioning of these hard points, they are pretty low mounted. I mean, if you even look at where the Gauss rifle is in relation to the cockpit, you do have to expose this mech a little bit more. But PGI did do the right thing in buffing up the structure. I mean, they added 23 hard points to that center torso. So, you know, if you have a standard engine in there, you're definitely going to, you know, make it. Pretty, you know, you could definitely take a couple hits. With the left torso and the right torso, they also added 16 hard points to it. So even if you were to place an XL on there, which I probably wouldn't recommend, but if you do, you know, you are padding it a little bit. For all I know, I might wind up purchasing this thing and putting an XL in there. So don't quote me on that. But in any case, it is just a very interesting mech. It definitely has a role out there on the battlefield. I've seen people do well with them. I just never really experiment with them myself. And that's just you know, personal preference. It has nothing. I have nothing against the Orions or anything, but you just don't see them, because if you look at these guys in comparison to some of the other variants that are available, this comes at the same exact price as that Bounty Hunter that I just mentioned to you guys. And if you're choosing between the two, I bet you 9 times out of 10 people will take the Bounty Hunter over the Protector. So again, just I'm calling a spade here. You know, when you look at the hard points on this guy in comparison to this guy, you know, the bounty hunter definitely has some better choices there when it comes to actually fitting in those hard points and making it conducive to a particular role or strategy out there on the battlefield, versus this guy where you realize you have to expose the mech a lot more in order to get a partial alpha, a full alpha, or, you know, any kind of shot for that matter in using this guy. So definitely take that into consideration before you buy. If you love the Orions, again, you know, I'm sure there are fanboys and fangirls that love the Orion chassis, but, you know, again, pick and choose your spots. Moving on, though, next up, we're going to be taking a look at the Quickdraw IV4. Now, before we actually dive into the nitty-gritty on this particular mech, I did want to give another little summary here of the ones that we have covered that are also jump jet or not jump jet capable. And the Jester and the Butterbee are jump jet capable. Fang and Flame are not jump jet capable. The Firebrand is not jump jet capable. The Bounty Hunter is jump jet capable, which is another added bonus as to the reason why you would actually select this particular variant, this particular mech at this particular price. It's just another bonus for you guys in case you do want to hop around there on the battlefield with this guy. Very heavy mech, so you will have to place a couple on there in order to get anywhere, but definitely something to take into consideration. And the Orion Protector does not have any jump jet capability either. But then you get to the Quickdraw, the IV4 in particular. Again, I did do a Daily Destruction Tour episode on this. It is one of the earlier episodes. This guy is jump jet capable, very aesthetically pleasing with this custom paint job on there. Awesome looking. I definitely have to give PGI credit there with a Draw Blood graphic on the back. It's just, I mean, it's very, very unique. The hard points might not be very conducive to, you know, an optimal kind of situation, but it's definitely one to take a look at, especially if you like the quick draws. It definitely adds some extra little unique flavor to it. So first, look at the hard points: 2 ballistic, 2 energy, 2 missile, and 1 AMS. I mean, very, very balanced. You got 2, 2, 2, triple twos. And then if you look at the quirk summary, besides the typical stuff, you know, the acceleration, deceleration, armor, turn rate, and turn angles, and so on and so forth, you have ballistic velocity 25%, ballistic cooldown of 30%, energy range of 10%, energy cooldown 10%, missile velocity 10%, and missile cooldown of 20%. So you do have 2-2-2 that splits very evenly between each type of weapon that you can use, and this mech in particular has quirks that are applicable to all of them. So it's not just choosing 2 of the 3 particular weapon groups that you can use. It's not just loading up on 1, for instance. It's giving you a balanced amount between all 3. So, you know, it's definitely a mech to take into consideration. It's an awesome mech from when I did the Daily Destruction Tour episode on it. If you haven't checked that out, definitely check that out, and you can see the gameplay first before you actually decide whether or not it's something that you actually want to formulate to your own role out there on the battlefield. But I actually really enjoyed it, and in particular, I really liked that ballistic cooldown, the energy cooldown, and the missile cooldown. I mean, at the end of the day, you're firing off each of those 2 hard points faster. 30%, 10%, and 20% faster than they otherwise would be. And as for the loadout that I placed on this, I forget where I left off with this guy, but it definitely is pretty neat, I have to say. Yeah, there he is. So on it, I had a feeling I left the UAC 5s on there, 2 SRM 4s, and then 2 mediums. So, you know, you're cramming a lot into this thing, all short to, you know, mid-range is what I went for, again, as a skirmish brawler. And a lot of ammo to fill up. You know, you have 200 rounds between the 2 SRM 4s. You have 4.5 tons between the 2 UAC 5s. You have the jump jets thrown in there. It's got an XL240, so it goes almost 70 kph. It's a little slower than some other heavy mechs. You might want to, you know, put a bigger engine in there. You don't necessarily have to use every single one of these hardpoints. I did, just because of the fact that there are quirks that are applicable to all of them. Obviously, if there were only 2 out of 3, I probably would have forgotten about whatever 2 weren't, being catered to, and just shoving a bigger engine in there with the extra tonnage. So it's really up to you how you want to play this mech. I had a blast with it. it's very specific to a specific type of role you want to play out there on the battlefield. I mean, these hard points, not necessarily the best, especially in relation to the cockpit. Very kind of low slung, if you ask me. But again, when you play with it over time, you get more into it. You get a little bit more of an appreciation for it. You have the 2 missile hard points here, 2 energy hard points right here, and then the 2 ballistic hard points really right down there in the arms. So from a positioning standpoint, maybe not the best, but once you play with it a little bit, you do grow a little bit more fond of it, and you grow certainly at least a little bit of an appreciation level for it. Comes at that price of 4,500 MC, so again, you're looking at 2,250 at the sale price. You know, so if you were to get that or any of the other mechs here in the 4,500 MC range, or 2,250 MC range at the sale price, you know, you would still have 1,350 MC left over. So, you know, just take it all with a grain of salt before you actually go out and buy it. You know, if you want multiple, you'd have a little bit extra, and then you could get a smaller mech MC pack on top of that to, you know, obviously make up the difference and purchase whatever other variant you wanted. But I'm just trying to throw some ideas out here for you guys in case you do want to incorporate this into your shopping cart there. As to whether or not you actually want to purchase it, if it fits into your role play, you know, how you play your mechs out there on the battlefield, and if you actually want to purchase another as well. So definitely keep that in mind. But we're going to move on here. Next up is the Rifleman Legend Killer, ladies and gentlemen. And this guy, oh man, I've had some fantastic rounds with this mech. Absolutely love it. Probably my favorite custom hero paint scheme in the entire game. And that is, I am not being sarcastic there. I love every you know, aspect about this mech, and I don't want to sound biased. You know, we're gonna run through it just like we would with any of the other variants. But first and foremost, hard points: 4 ballistic, 4 energy, plain and simple. It does have AMS, but who cares? You know, let's look at the quirks. Structure bonuses: ballistic cooldown 15%, energy cooldown 10%, energy heat generation 5%, laser duration 10%, LB10X cooldown 10%, and LB10X spread reduction of 10%. Ladies and gents, this mech really, if you really like firing off those LB10s, you like to play as that shotgun component destroyer kind of player out there on the battlefield. Between the quirks, the hard points, and the positioning of these weapon mounts, you have an absolute menace out there on the battlefield. And, you know, for me personally, I have played with this mech a lot. I did place LB10Xs on it, and I placed, I believe, 4 mediums or 2 mediums or something like that, just to work a little bit more with the heat or add extra tonnage for the ammo. You do chew through the ammo pretty quickly because you have that ballistic cooldown 15% and the LB10X cooldown of 10%. I threw an LB10X module on there, and that put it up to 37% cooldown. So this thing can fire them off very, very quickly. And then, you know, if you couple that with your energy cooldown 10%, you throw on a module, you get 22% in the energy cooldown. So really, you know, the quirks are very, very specific, and they are also very specific to those hard points. You know, obviously with only 2 of the 3 weapon groups and quirks to boot, this is definitely a forerunner for, you know, a mech that you would want to pick up during the sale if it is available. It does not have any jump jet capability, but it does come at a price of 4,500 MC, ladies and gentlemen. That is absolutely incredible. For this mech, I thought that it should at least be at, you know, that, the 4,800 or the 5,200 level for MC. But they put it at 4,500. That's 2,250 for this iconic blast to play, all around, you know, fantastic support, shotgun shooting, heavy. And I mean, it doesn't have necessarily the structure in, say, its counterpart or bigger brother, as everyone likes to call it, the Jagermech, but it definitely adds a very unique and specific element to the battlefield, a very unique role in case you do want to play it out, you know, with what it has, with those modules, with those quirks, with the structure, with the hard points and the positioning of those hard points. Definitely one to look at. Awesome mech to even visually look at. Definitely worth considering picking up. But before we make any conclusions, again, we do still have 2 more mechs to get through. We have the Thunderbolt Top Dog. Now, this was one of the later heroes that was added into the game for the heavies. There are no clan heavies on this hero list just yet. Now, that is subject to change on November 15th, but as for right now, the Top Dog, 0 ballistic, 9 energy hardpoints, 0 missile, 1 AMS, and 0 ECM. As for the quirk summary, you got it. Acceleration, deceleration, structure, turn rate. That's really it. The only weapon quirk that is applicable to this mech, obviously caters to energy hardpoints, is energy range bonus of 10%. Now, if I'm laser boating this mech and I have 9 of any sort of energy weapon on this thing, I would hope for at least an energy heat generation quirk of some 10 or 15%, something like that. But when you have 9 energy hardpoints on a mech, even if you put 9 medium lasers on there, this thing can heat up very, very quickly. And if you compare it to some of the other Thunderbolt variants that are out there between the 9S and the SE and everything like that, this is the least heat efficient of all of them, ton for ton, hardpoint for hardpoint, weapon for weapon that you're actually placing on it. It's definitely an interesting variant. I don't think for a 4,875 MC price tag, which obviously would be reduced to that 37 did I say? 37, 38 when you round up, so 24.38 price tag. Just because it's not really adding much to the collection here. If you love the Thunderbolts, every one of those other variants has fantastic quirks that cater to specific hardpoints, or those specific energy and or missile hardpoints, and specific weapon types. The Top Dog doesn't. It gives you that generic energy range bonus of 10%. What is that going to do for me? I have no direction as to where I should go. I could put smalls, I could put small pulse, I could put mediums, I could put medium pulse. I could really, up until you get to that medium pulse point, you know that you can fit in all of those 9 energy hard points, essentially. And then just cram the rest with heat sinks and hope for the best, that you don't fry from the inside out. But, what if you're giving me a generic energy range, of 10%, I have these 2 high mounts up here. What if I want to use those and put large pulse or 2 PPCs or something like that, like maybe one of the other Thunderbolt variants does? It doesn't give you that I guess, direction as to where you would actually want to build this mech. So for that purpose alone, just because it doesn't have a quirk summary list that really makes it appealing, especially for that price, and the other variants that are equal in their price in this list that we have here, I probably wouldn't pick up the Top Dog. You don't see him out there very often, and that's probably the reason why. Laser boating 9 energy hard points without much direction as to what weapons we should be placing on this thing, it's a toss-up. So, and there are other better Thunderbolt variants out there that are more conducive to specific weapons, specific loadouts, specific hard points, and positioning of those hard points that will make them a better fit for whatever role you want to play out there on the battlefield than the Top Dog. So with that being said, we are up to the last mech on this list, and that is definitely one of my favorites here, the Warhammer Black Widow, ladies and gentlemen. And this hero, even just from nostalgia, and if you really tune into the lore and everything, this mech is definitely one of the top choices, in my opinion, for a hero mech to pick up. The Warhammers in general, you can't really go wrong with any of those variants. I've made great situations, great loadouts out of even the worst of those variants for the Warhammers. I don't even think the Warhammers have a bad variant, to be completely honest with you. But pick and choose your spots. Obviously, if you're not a Warhammer fan, if there is something else in this list that you prefer that is more conducive to your role and your strategy out there on the battlefield, go for it. I'm just giving you my opinion. The Warhammer is an absolutely fantastic all-around mech, and the Black Widow is no exception to that rule. Awesome looking paint job. You can mess with the paint a little bit and really highlight the angles and the graphics that are on this thing. But before we get into any of that, hard points: 4 ballistic, 4 energy, 1 missile, 1 AMS, and 0 ECM. As for the quirk summary, you have PPC velocity 30%, energy heat generation of 5%, energy range 10%, ballistic velocity of 10%. Again, with those acceleration, deceleration, structure, and torso turn rate bonuses. So first and foremost, looking at the structure, this guy definitely got a little bit of a buff in every single component on it. So you get that extra armor in every single, area of this mech, which is definitely beneficial. Now, if we look at the weapon quirks that go along with it, we have energy range 10%, and then that energy heat generation bonus of 5%. Now, I never use PPCs on this particular variant just because of the fact that, well, 2 of your 4 energy hard points are in these very, very low slung arms. So you would have to expose this mech a little bit more. It does have the structure where if you were to expose a little bit, you can absorb a little bit more damage. But, you do have the 2 up here as well. You just can't fit it all, though, in there with the 4 ballistic hard points. And what people like to do, considering the fact that the Black Widow is the only Warhammer variant that offers 4 ballistic hard points, is sometimes you would just see people place 4 AC5s on here, which is what everyone, I guess, likes to call the glass cannon build, which I do actually intend to do a video on one day, so stay tuned for that. But that is definitely one of the reasons why people love the Black Widows, just because of the fact that it has that extra structure. The hard points are right underneath the cockpit, and the fact that it's the only variant with those 4 ballistic hard points is definitely a reason why people like to pick it up. So if you like using ballistics, you like that structure, that durability standpoint that really gives this mech, some added bonuses out there on the battlefield for, making it through towards the end of a battle and everything, this is definitely a mech for you. And even in the lore and everything, the Black Widow is very, very iconic. It sounds very, very cheesy and cliche and probably weird even. But every time I do get into this mech, it's just a different feeling knowing that you're in the actual Black Widow variant. So it's a very, very special mech. I really, really enjoy this one in particular out of all of the heavies that are in this list. But with that being said, it is summary time, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to go through this by, price order here. And again, for the all-around buy, the best value buy, which takes into consideration MC, ton for ton, quirks, structure, you name it, is 100% the Legend Killer. I cannot express enough to you guys how much fun this mech is, and for that half price of $22.50 MC to pick up this not only iconic but extremely fun and just all around awesome mech to use out there on the battlefield. The shotgun shootout kind of mech is what you're bringing to the table here. It is an absolute blast. So for 4,500 MC, cut that down to $22.50. You have an excellent mech that you're adding to your collection. It's an absolute blast to play out there on the battlefield. And again, third in the list of importance here is how it actually looks. And this thing is, to me, impeccable. I absolutely love how this thing looks. But let's move on here. So that is the best value. For me, that would be the best value mech to choose. But in each of the different brackets here for pricing, we next have the 4875 level. And between all of our options here, I definitely would not take the Top Dog. I would consider either the Firebrand or the Jester. Those are the 2. If you're trying to save a little bit of MC, maybe buy cockpit items or some extra mech bays or something like that, and you're choosing to go with the 4875 level of MC, cut that in half again. You're around 2438. So those would be the 2 that I would choose between, is either the Firebrand or the Jester. Again, they both add some unique flavor to the battlefield. The Firebrand definitely has the positioning right next to the cockpit, so you know what you're shooting at, you can hit. It's right in line pretty much with where your cockpit is, so that's definitely an added bonus for this guy. It definitely has some added structure, which if you look at the structure list on this guy in comparison to the Jester here, he almost has double the structure in certain areas. They are both 65-ton mechs, so when you get added structure on one versus the other, that would speak more volume to me. But the Jester also has the high-mounted energy hard points there. It's the most unique out of all the Catapult variants, just because Again, it's the only one that is a laser boat. Every other variant incorporates missiles in some way, shape, or form. So, just take that into consideration. Again, you really have to pick and choose what your role is and what you want your role to be, and which of these two variants, along with their weapon types that you can use on these things, you prefer. So, 4875 tier level would either be one of these two. But if we move along here, so we had 4875. The next up, I believe, is the 52. Yeah, the 5250 level. So if I scroll up here, you have the Archer Tempest, the Ilya Muromets, and then I believe it is the Black Widow is the last one. 100%, hands down, Black Widow. You gotta go with the iconic only variant that has 4 ballistic hard point. Variant of the Warhammer. It's iconic. It's very, very special mech. I really, really enjoy taking this thing out every time I do use it. And, it definitely would be a fantastic, well-rounded, balanced approach if you are looking to get more heavy mechs in your collection. And in particular, I feel like this is a great heavy mech to learn with. So if you do want to actually figure out how to navigate with a heavy out there on the battlefield that is a little bit forgiving because of that added structure and everything, I definitely recommend the Warhammer in comparison to these other two. Again, that's just these are all personal opinions. So even though I did tell you guys, knowing that my strategy on the battlefield is skirmish brawl and that the Ilya Muromets is very conducive to that, I still go with the Warhammer over it for an all-around perspective. That is my, again, a third-party, unbiased approach in viewing these mechs, for what they are and what they're worth out there on the battlefield. And the Black Widow definitely stands out to me as the forerunner amongst all of the ones that are at this 5250 price level, which would be what, 2625, I believe we came out to that a couple times now. The math just keeps escaping me. But for the last tier level here, we have the 5625 level. And between, what is it? I think we only have 2 options here. And I think you guys know what I'm going to pick. Obviously, the Marauder. I mean, from the standpoint of not only the hard points, the positioning of those hard points, and even just the durability of these mechs out there on the battlefield. I'm not as familiar with the Protector, the Orion chassis in general. I just, if I were to choose between the two, I'm obviously going to go with the Bounty Hunter because I'm familiar with the hard points. I know how this mech, works and what its pros and cons are, even with this extremely large side profile. But, it's really up to you guys. Again, if you are a Protector fan, now is your opportunity to get this guy for half off, which would be $28.13. So, you could buy essentially, every one of these mechs for that $3,600 $15 MC pack. You cannot buy any combination of 2 at the $15 level for the MC pack. So, only once you get to the $30 MC pack, or unless you're fine with only buying one of these hero variants, you'd be spending at least $15 to do so, and you'd have some extra MC left over if you want to buy some mech bays or something like that. So, again, it's up to you what you want to do with it. This is 100% just my opinion of what I would do if I were to buy, either the $15 or the $30 MC pack. If I bought the $30, I'd probably buy a couple hero variants with it, as opposed to just saving the rest of the MC. But if I were to go with the $15 pack, I'd pick one that really stands out to me for that half price, that hopefully is in the list that they give to us on Cyber Monday. And then with the rest of it, probably put it into either mech bays, premium time, something like that, just to help with the grind of C-bills and everything. So that's my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. If you agree, disagree, or even just want to leave an opinion of what mechs you would buy during this sale in the comment section below, please feel free to do that. Leave it, if you have experience with these mechs and, you use them in certain capacities, whatever your role is, please feel free to leave it in the comment section below so that other people can, check them out as well. And if they fit a similar role or want to play a similar role out there on the battlefield, they know at least what your opinion is on a particular variant and which ones you guys show a little bit more favoritism for, in case they want to actually go out and get it for themselves as well. So, again, this is all my opinion. The more opinions we have is the more informative kind of decision you guys can make once this sale actually comes to be on Cyber Monday. So again, please feel free to leave all your comments, questions, concerns, or suggestions in the comment section below. I hope this again was informative. Please let me know with that like button if you did enjoy it. And if you have anything else that you want to add, please feel free to email me. I'll leave all the links and everything, including the links to help support the channel more in the description. And I thank you guys so much again for tuning in to this episode of Mech Warrior Online. Stay tuned for the last part of this Black Friday hero analysis. We still have the assaults to go through. There are 9 of them, so that will obviously be the fourth and final part to all of these mechs coming, full circle as to what could possibly be available on that Cyber Monday sale date. So thank you guys so much again for tuning in. I appreciate all the support that you've given, not only to the channel but this series as we dive deeper into this list of Black Friday potential mech deals. And I really do appreciate even just all the support that you've given so far. It's only been 3 days, and you guys are already starting up some conversations on the other videos, and I hope it continues on this one. So thank you guys so much again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care, guys.